I want to welcome David Martinez De Lecea. How
Yeah,
do you
that's
pronounce
pretty
it?
close.
Pretty close. To Under the Hood. As I just told David, we are in our third year. June is the anniversary month, so I'm so delighted to have you. And David is in Spain, so he's been great in kind of meeting us at a much later time. So let me read you just a little bit about David. It's very short, and he's going to tell us a lot more about himself. He's a consultant, an entrepreneur, and an investor with a unique combination of business management expertise and deep technological acumen focused on artificial intelligence. And I have an idea that you've been doing this a lot longer than the big splash that we're all hearing about. You
Yeah, it's been a while. I've gone through a couple of winters.
I bet. So, with over 15 years of professional experience and a very strong academic background, he's got an MBA, a BSc, bachelor's,
It's a bachelor's in science,
a
yes.
bachelor's in science, and an MS in computer science, engineering, and economics. Wow, you've been in school for a while.
I was a bit of, and I am a bit of a nerd. I like studying. I like
Me
books.
too. Me too. I say when they go like this, that's kind of where my learning is probably going to end. And then who knows after that? We don't know. So, David, tell us this is called Under the Hood. And Under the Hood is about patterns that are created in childhood that impact us as grown-ups. And I love interviewing leaders because your stories are really inspiring. And many times people think, oh, they're just lucky. We know it's not just luck. And so tell us a little bit about your kind of background, your family of origin, some of the behavior patterns that you learned from your family and things that have kind of taken you kind of through your career.
Yeah, I don't know actually. I don't know what's under the hood. I guess I had a very normal, average upbringing, a very unremarkable in the sense that it was normal, it was good. It didn't have any big problems or otherwise any big surprises. I had a brother. We were two, my father and my mother. It was always a very good and loving family in a small town in the north of Spain. Then I moved a little bit farther to study my computer science, and um, and after that I started traveling. First, I went to the UK, but I've lived all over many different countries as I developed a career. At that point in time,
Oh, it's okay. Oops. Come back. Um, so, David, you were telling me that you went off to school, and
yes,
I'm going to come back a bit again to your family in a little bit. But tell us, so you went off to school and you traveled, and
yeah, I went
tell
to
me what.
school to study engineering and computer science. Then when I finished that, at that point, back in, I'm aging myself, but it wasn't cool to be in technology. What
Oh,
you had to do was business and finance. So that's what I did. I moved all over, lived in several countries, worked in finance and management consulting for financial services for 10, 15 years. And then lately, when technology became cool again, I started to put one and one
you
together
emerged.
and work in technology for financial services.
So let me go back a little bit. You know, for you, a normal, loving household is a wonderful, normal thing, but it's not always so normal. Then there were qualities, I'm sure, that your parents bestowed upon you that were kind of core values in the household. What were they? Can you tell us about that?
Core values. I suppose education was taken very seriously. Um, I suppose family also. I think my father and my mother were quite strong in family values. I think we were one of those families that always tend to do things together instead of branching out to other social
Hmm.
relationships. It's not like they didn't have friends, but they always prioritize like family time and family
Hmm.
vacations and family events over other families that are
Yes.
like bigger friend groups. I think those are the things that come to mind.
Okay. And then how about what I have found with all the wonderful people that I've interviewed, there's a work ethic here somewhere. How does that kind of show up in your?
Yeah, both my parents worked, which I don't know if it was that common for women in Spain at that point in time.
Hmm.
Yeah, both have their own professional career. My father ran the family business. My mother worked for the local administration, also in technology. So yeah, work was taken seriously, and it was common to get home and have to wait for my parents to get back home because they were both in their
Hmm.
offices.
Interesting. So you had a family business. Does that have something to do with your entrepreneurship?
No, I think it's a coincidence. That's pretty much it. I don't. My father didn't really talk much about work at home. He went
Hmm.
and did it, but there wasn't much business talk at home. So I think it's just a coincidence.
Hmm. Maybe, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe not.
You never know.
So tell me again, how did your family deal with conflict?
Hmm. I'm not sure. I mean, the only conflict was the kids misbehaving, and we will be grounded for bad behavior. Uh, my father had a short temper. My mother was more loving. There wasn't a lot of conflict. I think it was quite a lucky household where, other than yeah, the teenagers being teenagers, there wasn't a lot.
Yeah. So how does it kind of show up? Tell us about your work and how you've kind of evolved into the business that you're in and the stressors and the kinds of things that are going on.
Well, as I said, after working many years in finance and in personal finance, and always been involved in the field and helping friends with their money or with their bank accounts or where to open this and that, that's when we launched Exirio to help our users track and manage their wealth and their investments. But Exirio, being an early stage startup, is one of those situations where nothing happens if the founders are not pushing. Um,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
constant, as you probably know for yourself. If one day you don't work and nothing happens. Constant pushing, constant pushing.
So running the team, how many people do you have on your team?
We are 11 now.
11. So what are some of, people love to hear kind of, again, sort of the inside track. What are some of the issues that kind of show up and how do you deal with them?
Well, because we are a remote company where everybody is
Mm.
distributed, I think the biggest challenge we have is how do we ensure communication and everyone being aligned on the same priorities, even though we are not together. And it does happen that sometimes you find that somebody has been working on something for 4 days, and then we realize that that was not a priority. We shouldn't have done that. But it's an obvious thing, but in a remote company, you have to over invest in communication. And we use modern tools for development work, and I think it works. Everybody gets copied on everything, everything gets filed, everything gets properly documented. I think it works.
Yeah. And again, this is not an uncommon situation in today's world. I just talked to somebody else a little bit earlier today. Same thing. How do we bring that culture together? How do you deal with the culture? So the work is one piece, right? And And then there's the people side of it. How does that kind of work? And
I must admit we just leave it organically to go wherever it goes. So I did have and I do have a co-founder. So I
Mhm.
guess that's what sets most of the culture. But we don't make a specific effort on that. Maybe we should, but we just let it happen.
Yes. Okay. So let me ask you another question. Who were your mentors? People that were kind of really important to you as you developed?
Yeah, I always struggle with that thought or that question. I personally don't love the idea of mentor and mentee.
Hmm.
I love the idea of working with people I like, with peers. Um, I learn from people. Hopefully, somebody might learn from me. But I don't. I'm not comfortable with hierarchical structures,
Okay.
especially or especially in this situation, in this mentor situation where somebody is just trying to help each other. I prefer to think of a network of peers. Um, and trying to learn from anybody. And I also do. I spend a lot of time reading and learning, and I think
Mhm.
we've lived and we still live in an era of unlimited learning opportunities. So we have access to the best content, the best
Yeah.
experts, the best of the best online. Just everything is a click away on YouTube or on a podcast. So I think that that figure of the mentor that had to show you the ropes of a particular industry. Now all the information is out there.
Okay. And at the same time, it's maybe the same thing with a different definition, a different focus, because you're learning from other people, right?
Hmm.
You're using the media
Yes.
to find these people who know maybe something more than you know, or the next step that you might need to take, right? So it doesn't have to be a person
Yeah.
necessarily, right? But it's the idea that you're a lifelong learner.
Yeah. And it's amazing because now we are lifelong learners, and as I said, you have access to the biggest brains and the biggest pools of wisdom just one click away.
Absolutely. So one of the other questions that I love to ask is sometimes we go into something thinking that it's going to really work out really well for us, and sometimes it doesn't, and then we learn a lot from it. Do you have a story to tell us, perhaps something that you went into and, with your eyes you thought wide open, and then it
A
didn't work out
million
so
times.
well?
I've changed my mind so many times. So many times, and I failed so many times. Um, I since the beginning of my career, at some point, I started some studies that I didn't finish. One degree in university that I wanted to do. I decided that it was time to start joining the professional world instead of studying. My first startup went through a lot of pain
Mhm.
because of different expectations of different team members. Yeah, a million, and I find that most of those lessons are lessons that you will not learn in books, no matter
Mhm.
how much I
Mhm.
love studying and how many books I've learned. I just don't learn those lessons unless I make the same mistakes myself.
What were some of your highlights? Some of the, because again, remember I said the behavior runs in patterns. So there are certain patterns that we run, and until we sort of get that conscious awareness, it's like, oh, I just fell into that same trap again.
Well, probably there's a bad way of saying it that I've put too much trust on people and then
Mhm.
I've been let down. But maybe there's a nicer way of doing it that is, I didn't communicate properly what the
Mm.
expectations I had, or maybe what the expectations they had.
Right.
So I've had a lot of disappointment from, yeah, not getting from others what I thought I was going to get.
Right. So you put that really perfect thing. I call it, when your expectations are over here and then your reality is over here,
Yeah.
in between is, frustration and disappointment.
Yeah, because sometimes when I lose my temper, I say, "Why does everybody lie to me? Why don't people do what they said they were going to do?" But probably there was a miscommunication more than people lying to me.
So taking responsibility for our own behavior, right?
Yeah.
I think is probably a very humbling lesson. But once we do that, my experience is I then become more in charge of my life,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As
Absolutely.
as opposed to expecting other people are going to do this and this and this. I always like to say, I got to put me into account first. What did I do or what didn't I do? Is this mine or is it somebody else's?
Yeah. And now I do I something I repeat to my children a lot of times when you know how kids are always when something happens they always start pointing. It wasn't me, it was someone else, and I would say it doesn't matter. This is not about blaming. It's what are we gonna do to solve it? If there's something for you to learn it and move on. But let's focus on solving the issue and not blaming and trying to point
Yes,
fingers.
yes, that's the easiest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
If only
It's
he
natural.
or if
It's very natural, but yeah, there's nothing to learn from that behavior.
So from where you are right now with all the lessons that you've learned and all the startups and the hiccups and disappointment, where are you now, do you think, in terms of being, at peace with who you are and what's going on? And
Yeah, I'm actually very fortunate. I'm very at peace with my life, where we are with the business, what we're doing, what we are delivering to our users. So I guess that just comes with age. At a certain age, one starts getting some wisdom and feeling comfortable. And yes, I am. I am very comfortable.
beautiful and beautiful. And then the messages that you want to bring to your children, about this journey, what would you want to share with them?
Definitely, there will be a message of really hard work. Um, I don't think we get anything done if we don't work hard or every day, a little bit every day. So that's something I always insist on. But yeah, hard work is not enough, right? Also, one needs to make sure that puts the hard work on things that are going to produce results. And some things, some messages that I try to repeat is that hard work pays off if there's a lot of compound interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been guilty of that, jumping from one thing to another instead of being consistent with something. Most of the big returns in life, whether it's in work or relationships or investments, come from compound interest. So work hard and work every day on something, even if you don't see the results right away.
Yeah.
That's a common theme. And then look for leverage. We live also in a moment of infinite leverage. If you just renting your hours, you won't produce much result. But if you use technology or content or money, if you have it, the results that you can do with the same amount of work are exponentially different.
Right. Do you have another way of kind of thinking about leverage or talking about it? Because it's a really interesting kind of idea.
Well, I like this framework that, of course, I've learned from the internet that there are four types of leverage.
Hmm.
First, two being money and labor, and those are permission leverage. You need to have the money, or you need someone to lend you the money to use it, or you need someone's permission to work for you. If you have 100 people working for you, you get a lot done. If you put $100 million to work, you get a lot done. But in the past years, there have been two other forms of unpermission leverage, which is
Hmm.
content and software. If you build an amazing app, you don't have to ask for permission. You can get amazing results. Or if you produce incredible content, write a book, develop your own social media channels, again, you can get incredible results. And those are for anybody to
Hmm.
build without having to ask for permission.
Right. I like that, and I love again, when I think of under the hood, I think about how people think and people who are diehards, entrepreneurs, keep coming back, keep coming back. There's an energy in there, right? Right? If
It is
only
nice.
I can get it right this time, right? So what would you like to leave our listeners with? Some, again, some wisdom which you already gave, uh, of something that you would want young people, aspiring leaders to think about, and anything else that you'd like to leave us with.
Well, I guess those points that we just made, compound interest, um, is what pays off. You need to get some leverage if you want to get big results. Otherwise you're always going to be a slave of the system. You're always going to be renting
Mhm.
your time. And at Exirio, we try to help people save and invest their money, get leverage on their money, and achieve financial freedom. So think about how you are going to get that. And the goal is not to get rich and make a lot of money. The goal is freedom. It's freedom
Mhm.
from a 9 to 5 job that feels like a slavery. It's freedom from a boss that is tyrannical. It's freedom from having to shop the next bag or the next car. That is the goal, and
That is the goal.
that's where I think happiness begins. Before that is extremely hard.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then when you have created that freedom, then we can help other people,
Absolutely, and that's what
right?
we're trying to do. Yeah,
Exactly. Well, David, thank you so much for your time. We're going to kind of pull out your bits of wisdom, and we're going to promote this and have people get to know you a little bit better.
sounds
So thank
great.
you again. It's much, much appreciated your time.
Thank you very
Have
much,
a
Steve.
great day.